Gotta keep up with me mentally. I finesse it just so gently. Gotta keep up with me mentally.
What is good, GBO crew, and welcome back to another episode of the TalkToMeNice podcast, where we have Talk to Me Tuesdays, and would you look at that, it's Tuesday. You guys know during Talk to Me Tuesdays, I pick a topic and we chop it up, just me and you. I asked you guys on Instagram what are some things about Black culture that you enjoy, and you guys chimed in, so I'm so excited to share all those responses, along with some little known history facts that I found when doing some research of my own. As you guys can tell, Black History Month has been in full effect. Been reviewing some albums from way back when in the 2000s. I'm hoping I'm gonna have some more time to go back even into the 90s from some albums that I really love and just have stuck with me. You know, and just having these conversations with you guys after you watch your review, and even I'm sure the same ones we'll have today after this episode. I love our culture. I love us. We are excellent. We are resilient. We are strong. But before we get into this topic, please sure to hit that subscribe button. No further ado, let's get right into this topic. So, as you guys know, I added 2 segments to the podcast, and the first one is hashtag what are you watching? Last time I told you guys I was watching Bones, and I still am, because child, Bones is 12 seasons. I think I'm on season 5 right now. I feel like Bones has easily become my comfort show as well, so I'm not necessarily in a rush to finish that show. But what I have been watching recently, I've been really into movies, waiting for some of my favorite shows to come back. Snowfall. But something I did watch that I really highly recommend is Loose, which is a movie that you can stream on Hulu, and Calvin Harrison Jr. This is the second film I have seen him in. The first was Monsters and Men, another film on Hulu that you should also watch because it's really relevant. It was super relevant last summer. But Loose is based on a playwright, and so that means, of course, that the score is literally... And I feel like to give you a short summary of Loose, it talks about the struggle sometimes of being the token Negro and the expectations that come with that, and kind of how the pressure that comes with that, trying to succeed and trying to prove everyone wrong, and there's some trying to deal with your own little personal demons or whatever, and that's what Luce is struggling with. He exceeds in almost every area academically. He's an athlete, but he also had a tough background, you know, from where he came from growing up. He's adopted by 2 white parents that adopted him from Eritrea, where there was a war going on, so he had a very violent upbringing. And it all starts off kind of with an essay that he is asked to write in his history class, I believe, for his teacher named Harriet, and that's kind of where the plot kicks off. And what I love about Luce is that it doesn't give you flat out an answer to whether Luce did or didn't do certain things. You are allowed to draw your own conclusions about that. Another film that I watched, I'm probably going to mention it later again as well because it's relevant. One Night in Miami, directed by Miss Regina King. Streaming on Amazon Prime. You guys have to watch it, even if you're not a history person, because I really don't consider myself a history person. But having current depictions of famous, you know, Black historians or famous, you know, Black actors or, you know, activists, you know, it really humanizes them. And I feel like, especially with Malcolm X, I feel like he's someone that, you know, when you think about people like him, Martin Luther King, it's almost like, were they real? Like this one person did so many great things, you know, had all these amazing speeches, and you almost feel like they're not real. So I think seeing a current depiction of them, you know, and in this case, Kingsley, the actor that played Malcolm, did an excellent job, and it really humanized him and kind of brought him down to earth for me. And just seeing, not me getting notifications, child. But just seeing the bond that Malcolm and Sam and Cassius Clay and Jim Brown had was just amazing. 4 successful Black men, each in their respective careers, and, you know, ultimately Malcolm once again imploring them to use their platforms for good, which we will dive right into. So let's get right into our first Black History Month fact, okay? The celebration of Black History Month began as Negro History Week, which was created in 1926 by Carter D. Woodson, a noted African-American historian, scholar, educator, and publisher. It became a month-long celebration in 1976. The month of February was chosen to coincide with birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. And I think the one thing I really did know was how actually they chose the month of February, which this fact clears up. I feel like that was a perfect fact to start us off with, since we are celebrating Black History Month. love and all our excellence. And before we forget and get into y'all's responses, you guys know it is time for our culture tag of the day. Told you guys that last one is probably the only one I'm going to get right. I don't know how I even knew the last one, but these are all going to be acronyms, okay? So like Black Twitter, family, friends, songs, movie references. If you know these acronyms, okay, you gotta get into it. So this one is daily sayings. So something maybe you would hear all the time, like around the house, when your parents said, eat, wait, eat. Okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna try to guess. So y'all go ahead and put your guesses and let me know in the comments what y'all think it is. And at the end of this episode, I will give y'all the answer to this acronym for our culture tag of the day. Black History Month, the significance and the impact of Black culture on music, entertainment, activism, medicine, beauty, hair care, whatever you name it. We have had a hand in it, okay? So speaking of hair, okay, because we got the curls popping, you feel me? I used my Eden Body Works defining cream, which I'm not mistaken, that is actually Black owned as well, okay? Y'all can fact check me, but since we're talking about hair, hairdresser Christina M. Jenkins is credited with inventing the weave, also known as the sew-in. The Louisiana native who eventually relocated to Ohio earned a patent for her creation in 1952, though it was overturned in 1965. We have to thank our good sis Christina. I know I have to, because look, we love making sure you can't see no lace, okay, like Chloe and Halle said. So shout out to Christina, even though her patent was overturned. What a staple, the sew-in, weave, whatever you want to call it, extensions, a staple in Black culture. And also, we can get into you guys' responses as well. Ask you guys on Instagram, if you are Black or African American, what is something that you love about Black culture? And my friend Dion said, our culture is the root of almost everything we see or do. And man, it really is true. You think about dances or like jokes or memes or whatever, things that go viral, most of the time you can almost guarantee it was created by a young Black kid or a Black adult for sure. TikTok, for example, with the dances that go viral, and how the Renegade went viral, which is, a song by K-Cam, and then of course the young Black girl that created the dance, and just seeing how that, catapulted at her finally getting credit for a dance that she created, man. And you kind of see how it's so easy when a Black creative comes up with something, it's so easy for them to not get the credit they deserve. And that happened to her, and that happens a lot of times, and actually way too often. Either we do it to each other, or it happens from somebody else that has more connections or a bigger platform. So next, computer scientist Lisa Galopter assisted with the 1995 creation of Shockwave, essential technology that led to the development of web animation. So basically, in essence, we have Miss Lisa to thank for GIFs. Okay, I don't know what I would do without GIFs, okay? When I'm on Twitter, a GIF makes a response or reaction 10 times funnier or 10 times more clever. I don't care what anybody says. It's the same way how I feel about memes, y'all. Next, let's move on to society and life aspects, all right? First published in 1936, the Negro Motorist Green Book was a comprehensive guide for Black travelers about locations across America and eventually overseas that were either Black owned or didn't engage in segregationist practices. The guide was printed for 30 years. It stopped publication in 1966, 2 years after the Civil Rights Act was passed. It's crazy when you think about the fact that something like this even had to be written and published. Like, it was that bad. We had to be cautious literally of everywhere we went, everywhere we go. We almost essentially had to look over our shoulder to make sure, is it safe for us to be here? Is it safe for us to bring our family here, to bring our kids here? But that was, really the reality of it. The thing about us, I feel like, regardless of the fact that we do have targets on our back, simply because of our skin color, it has made us stronger and more resilient. And because of that, and actually, speaking of that fact, my friend Rianne said her favorite thing about Black culture and what she loves is our resilience and ability to adapt every negative to a positive. And that is so true, man. Obviously, knowing everything about our ancestors and our history and how we where we come from and how we got here, I think it's natural for us to adopt that strong instinct, the natural instinct to survive and to prosper. And I feel like because we do have odds stacked against us, it just makes us, it helps us build better character in the end. I mean, it's kind of a sad fact that we have to do this regardless, but I feel like it really pushes us to be the best in every area. You can tell that by how like your parents are raised, and how I'm sure they told you many times like they don't want you to struggle like they did, or that instinct you want for your kids to have better and to be better. I feel like that's so important for our our parents, and I feel like a lot of us had that instilled in us from a young age as well. My good friend Dev said that music, food, styles, fashion, and how we invented a lot of things that no one knows. And I feel like that's so true. Like I mentioned earlier, our impact on music especially. And when I think about music, I think about rap music and how it has become mainstream. It has become elevated music. It is played on commercials, played during the Super Bowls, basketball games. Like, rap music has become something that literally anyone and everyone can enjoy. And of course, obviously with that conversation of something like that being so open and so public and being offered to anyone now, there also you have to think about gatekeeping, which I feel like is a conversation I've seen a lot on Twitter about certain things we feel like we have to gatekeep with Black culture, and it's true. I think it's 50-50 with me. I'm glad in the sense that there are so many things about our culture that people enjoy, whether it be our hairstyles or the way we dress, or even more so what I don't enjoy is like the use of our vernacular, especially used by people that have no idea what they're talking about or what they're saying. I think things like our vernacular and like our lingo, and at times I think things like that we do kind of start having to gatekeep. So our first lawyer, John Mercer Langston, was the first Black man to become a lawyer when he passed the bar in Ohio in 1854. When he was elected to the post of town clerk for Brownham, Ohio in 1855, Langston became one of the first African Americans ever elected to the public office in America. John Mercer Langston was also the great uncle of Langston Hughes, former poet of the Harlem Renaissance, which also is not a fact that I knew, but I thought that was dope, just how they were all connected in that way. But I can't imagine a world where we didn't have Black lawyers and Black activism. What if we didn't have Malcolm X's and and Angela Davis's, and if we didn't have the creatives like Ava DuVernay, we didn't have our Oprahs, we didn't have our Martin Luthers? What if we didn't have all these powerful Black minds and Black creatives pushing the bar and making sure that the road for the next creator wasn't so hard? What if we didn't have those people, but especially Black lawyers that know and understand the feeling, know what they're fighting for, especially if they have somebody that is Black that they're defending or they're fighting for their case. Like, they know that feeling, and I feel like it becomes personal to them. So it's, even though it seems like something small we probably take for granted, but having Black lawyers, having Black officials, in our law system, and our courts, with having, that in the system is imperative, I think, in how we move forward and seeing change. Our first woman representative, Shirley Chisholm, was the first African American woman elected to the House of Representatives. She was elected in 1968 and represented the state of New York. She broke ground again 4 years later in 1972 when she was the first major party African American candidate and the first female candidate for president of the United States. Fast forward a few years and look, we have our first Black female vice president, Kamala Harris. I mean, if it weren't for Shirley Chisholm, who knows where we would be right now. It's just amazing when you think about people that took those steps to just make the road, not necessarily easier, but just to make it more accepted for, Black women and Black men to be in those places of power. Rebecca Lee Crumpler. After working 8 years as a nurse, Rebecca Lee Crumpler began medical school of the New England Female Medical College in 1860. This school was the first in the United States to train female doctors. She graduated in 1864 as the first Black woman to receive an MD in the U.S. At the time, only 300 of the 54,543 physicians in the U.S. were women, and none of them were Black. After opening a medical clinic in Boston, she, women, and children who lived in poverty, and they often asking no payment for her services, man. She, having her open up that clinic and, use her intelligence and her talent to make sure her people were taken care of, people that were not living in the best conditions. It just shows you how much her work meant to her and how she knew there was a bigger purpose behind her just, having a big paycheck at the end of the day. I think especially I wanted to highlight her because when you think about specifically how Black women are treated, or just how Black people in general are treated in the healthcare system. But I think about all the stories I hear of, Black women having complications during childbirth, which I'm not gonna lie to you guys, after, the last year just hearing so many, really horror stories of what's happened, it's made me apprehensive, made me scary. It's made me think about, home births and having a doula, doing a water birth, and being in the comfort of my home. And even like how Kalani talked about her experience at home giving birth, something like that. I've talked about this often as well. It is important to have young Black kids see themselves in every avenue, whether it be in sports and medicine, and academics and politics. Whatever it is, it's so important for Black kids to see someone that looks like them so they can know, hey, this is possible and I can do this too. Marie Van Britten Brown. If you sleep better at night and when you're away from home because you have a security system, you should know it was invented by a Black woman. Marie Van Britten felt uneasy in her neighborhood and the police were unreliable. So she took matters in her own hands and patented the first modern home security system. Over 50 years later, the technology is installed in millions of homes and offices worldwide. Man, I thought this was so dope because, I'm thinking of Marie, whether she lived on her own, but she felt unsafe in her neighborhood and she knew that she couldn't necessarily trust the police if she made a complaint or whatever. They probably weren't going to take it seriously. So to think that just the basis of the security system and how it came about came from a Black woman because of her literal worry about not feeling safe in her own environment, man, it's dope. At the same time, it's just like, wow, like we take situations into our own hands and make something great come out of it. Once again, like my friend Rianne said, turning a negative into a positive. Lastly, we have Garrett Morgan. Love them or curse them, you can thank 46-year-old inventor and newspaperman Garrett Morgan for the 3-position traffic signal. Though Morgan's was not the first traffic signal, that one had been installed in London in 1868. It was an important innovation nonetheless. By having a third position besides just stop and go, it regulated crossing vehicles more safely than any other signals had. So y'all gotta do better when y'all driving, okay? Garrett did not do all this. Y'all be out here to be running past red lights, man. He gave us a third signal for a reason. He was trying to keep us safe. That was, in fact, my last fact. Oh no, it wasn't. I asked you guys also in the community section of my channel, what is something that you loved about Black culture, and one of my wonderful subscribers said that she loves AAV, which if you don't know, it's African American vernacular. The shared language and understanding, the way we use tone and intonation to convey messages, the way we laugh and find joy in it. And that, I think, besides music and entertainment, that is definitely my favorite thing about Black culture. The secret looks we shared, even if it's a complete stranger, like we just have that look and we just know there's so many things about our culture where we say so much without a single word having to be said. And I think that's one of the greatest things about us, man, just the way we communicate, and like she said, we find joy in that. It's our own secret language. But nonetheless, that was the last response you guys told me, so thank you guys all for chiming in. Our culture tag, our answer for this was everybody and their mama in here. The thing that I love about these culture tags, which kind of makes me laugh, is that every single time I give you guys the answer at the end, I'm like, how did I not know what this was? Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Talk to Me Nice podcast. Like I told you guys, 1 episode a month is my goal. I hope you guys are also enjoying the Black History Month series I'm doing with all these albums. Be sure to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe whatever you do. Do not forget to click that bell so that you get notified every single time I post. Please be sure to stream my latest EP, Comfort, which is available on all streaming platforms. Also, thank you guys so much for all the love on that as well. That was my Valentine's Day gift to you guys, so I really hope you enjoy it, man, and I can't wait to give you guys more music. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time with another video.